We're going back to where it all started, with one of the most popular events in Blue Archive returning next week, so much so that it was the catalyst for the rise in Blue Archive's popularity, saving it from the depths of BOS. That's right, it's the popular Bunny Chaser on Board event, as the Bunny CNC girls, minus Bunny Toki, are returning with their rerun banners in the next Blue Archive update. While I will be covering Bunny Neru, Karin, and Akane, I unfortunately won't be covering Bunny Asuna, cause if not, this video will be 25 plus minutes long. Plus, she is a pretty old unlimited unit, so I apologize for that, but I will still give a TLDR on her at the end of the video, and maybe a detailed explanation in the comments. But anyways, here is a short review of our lovable Bunny CNC girls. We'll start off with the leader of CNC, the Mad Dog of Millennium, one of Kivoto's powerhouses, rivaling the likes of Tsurugi, Hoshino, and Hina, but the worst gamer in all of Kivoto's as she constantly loses to Aris. It's call sign O, Bunny Neru. She's actually pretty cute in that bunny outfit, and her bomber jacket surprisingly complements it well. Not to mention, she looks kinda sexy too with that much exposed skin. She is a limited explosive tank striker with heavy armor who is average in urban terrains, excellent in field but terrible indoors. She uses this equipment set which is very tank focused as it increases her max HP, defense, and crit/crit damage res. Let's look at Bunny Neru's skills. Her 4-cost EX allows her to reposition to a specific location, while gaining a shield whose HP is based off her healing stat, which lasts for 20 seconds. She then deals damage to enemies in a round-shaped area, and at EX skill level 3 and above, it also inflicts taunt. Her basic skill boosts her evasion for 23 seconds every 30 seconds, her enhanced skill increases her crit damage, and her sub-skill lets her deal additional damage to medium-sized enemies. At UA40, she becomes more irritated as she gains extra HP on her enhanced skill plus, and at UA50, her field combat power improves from S to SS. Bunny Neru is a self-repositioning tank who doesn't have a lot of HP. In fact, out of all the tanks in the game, she actually has the lowest health pool, even after factoring in the additional max HP she receives at UA40. However, to compensate for this, she has quite a lot of evasion, though again, among all the evasive tanks in the game, she unfortunately has the least. But this problem is reduced with her great basic skill, which boosts her evasion by a whopping 42% at max level, and it also has a pretty short downtime of 7 seconds. Not only that, with Bunny Neru's EX skill, she is also able to gain quite a beefy personal shield, serving as a protection in case she doesn't dodge the enemy's attack and allowing her to tank more hits without sacrificing her low HP, though this shield only lasts for 20 seconds, which isn't very long. She also gains AoE CC capabilities at EX skill level 3 and above, making it useful against groups of CCable enemies, and its duration is fairly decent at 3 seconds. Not too long, but not too short either. Finally, for a tank, Bunny Neru actually has pretty good damage output. Her EX skill deals decent damage with a multiplier of 531% at max level, and her DPS is further increased with her enhanced skill upping her crit damage. Not to mention, she will deal more damage to medium-sized enemies like other students as a result of her sub-skill. As far as usage goes, you would think that Bunny Neru would be very useful in CC-related content like HOD or Wakamo Hovercraft, as her CC abilities should theoretically be useful in stunning HOD and its pillars since it is an AoE CC, or to fill Wakamo CC gauge in phase 1. However, unfortunately, she doesn't see much use in those raids, as they are more suitable CC students. For instance, for HOD, you would typically prefer someone like Kayoko, Swimsuit Chise, or Swimsuit Wakamo, since their CC values are much higher. Plus, her CC tank role is taken over by students such as Miyako or Tsubaki. As for Wakamo Hovercraft Phase 1, she receives extra damage especially on Insane and Torment due to Wakamo's piercing attack dealing twice more damage against her heavy armor. And since she doesn't have a lot of health, she will potentially be defeated pretty quickly. Furthermore, again, similar to HOD, there are way better tank and CC options for this raid. Nevertheless, you can still use her in one of your HOD Torment teams if you've run out of CC options or in the lower difficulties of this raid. I wouldn't recommend using her at all in Wakamo Hovercraft though, cause she would probably get obliterated by our sweet Yandere. Instead, Bunny Neru's main use lies into content, Kaiten Phase 1, and specific joint firing drills. For the former, she is able to AoE taunt multiple ranges with her EX, preventing them from launching their own taunts, which, as we know, is incredibly annoying. And additionally, she is stronger in the field version of this raid since it is her preferred terrain. Finally, since the rangers are considered as medium-sized enemies, Bunny Neru will obviously deal more damage to them as part of her sub-skill. Despite these, she still isn't really used a lot in this raid, especially on Insane and Torment, because for one, she receives extra damage from Kaiten's piercing attacks on these difficulties, letting her go down relatively fast due to her low HP. And 2, again, she is outshined by other units such as Tsukuyo, another evasive tank who is just way better for this raid, since she can tank more hits with her high evasion and HP, receive less damage from Kaiten's yellow attacks on Insane and Torment as she has red armor, heal herself with her EX, and sub-skill if she gets taunted, and decrease the enemy's defense with her basic skill. Regardless, you may still use Bunny Neru in extreme or lower Kaiten, or perhaps in one of your Torment teams. As for the specific joint firing drills, she is excellent for JFDs with the robot enemies that take only 1 damage per hit, but have greatly decreased max HP, since her EX is able to hit 33 times. Or that one JFD where the enemies receive 120k damage if they are afflicted with CC. Or even that JFD where front students' attack was increased by 70k. Other than those, Bunny Neru was also useful in field terrain PvP a while back. But sadly at this time, she isn't the meta in this mode anymore, due to the current indoor terrain and the existence of other evasive tanks. Other than Kaiten and certain joint firing drills, Bunny Neru isn't used much in any other content as there isn't really a lot of stuff that requires AoE CC, and even then in the ones that need AoE CC, tanks like Tsubaki who have better AoE CC values and tanking capabilities are preferred, plus her low HP makes her kinda hard to manage. Sure, she has the strong shield and high evasion, but her shield doesn't last for very long, and you can still get unlucky if she decides to not dodge the attacks, with all these making other tanks favored over her. Overall, Bunny Neru is a decent evasion tank with relatively low health, and who can CC multiple enemies while dealing pretty good damage. Unfortunately, there are a lot of other superior evasive tanks in the game, which is why she isn't used much in a lot of content. Thus, if you already have her, or if you prefer to save for other limited units instead, you may skip her and just use your other tanks instead, as a number of them are easily obtainable. However, if you don't have her and you're a limited collector, or if she is your waifu, then obviously you may pull for her. Though it is worth it alone to get her just for that cool looking EX skill and her Yakuza-like accent. Feels like I'm playing Yakuza all over again. Let's move on to our favorite chocolate bunny, callsign 02, Bunny Karin. And straight off the bat, I have to say, Giyat! God damn, that ain't a cake, that's the whole goddamn bakery. I don't even know if I can put most of her art from Pixiv in this video cause of how risky it is. Cause god damn, those legs, that long ponytail, those mommy milkers, and that beautiful delicious chocolate batty. Good lord, it's no wonder so many people decided to play Blue Archive when she released. She is a limited Mystic DPS striker who also wears heavy armor, while having the combat power in urban terrains, B in field, and S in indoors. Cause I pound her in bed all night long. She also uses the standard DPS equipment set. Now we move on to her skills. Bunny Karin has a massive 7 cost EX skill where she deals damage to enemies in a fan-shaped area, while ignoring a percentage of their defense. With her basic skill, which activates every 25 seconds, she deals damage to enemies once again, but this time in a circular area, though it also ignores a percentage of their defense. Her enhanced skill increases her attack, and her sub-skill ups her crit for 40 seconds whenever she uses her EX. She further receives additional attack at UE40 on her enhanced skill plus, and her indoor combat power upgrades to SS at UE50, becoming more proficient at baby making. Bunny Karin is primarily a strong blue AoE damage dealer, mainly due to her EX skill, especially with its ability to ignore the enemy's defense. Its defense penetration values can actually reach up to nearly 50% at max level EX, which is a lot, and it has the added advantage of being an AoE attack as well, meaning she can ignore the defense of multiple enemies at a time, making it useful against groups of enemies with high defense. Not to mention, her EX's damage is also pretty good, with a multiplier of 521% at max level, and it has a wide AoE range as well. However, its biggest downside is its extremely expensive 7 cost. But similar to other units who have high EX skill costs, you can diminish this problem with cost reduction EX skills. Other than her EX, her basic skill is also quite good, since firstly, it too has defense penetration, being able to ignore up to 32% of the enemy's defense, acceptable damage, and a short duration of 25 seconds, meaning she will almost always have the ability to deal defense penetration damage. Finally, her sub-skill can be useful since her crit chance is increased for a whole 40 seconds after using her EX, potentially improving her damage output. Bunny Karin is mainly useful in content with groups of high defense enemies, and long-time players will know that I'm talking about Pararodzilla, her best raid. The giant penguin and his tiny minions all have very high defense, especially on insane and torment difficulties. Thus, she is a great unit for this raid, primarily the indoors version since it is her preferred terrain, as her EX skill can take down the mini Pararos by ignoring almost half their defense, allowing her to deal quite a lot of damage, especially once you buff her with Akko and Himari. However, you will need to pair her with someone like Ui to cut her EX skill's 7 cost down to 4. Outside of that, you might be able to bring her into Kurokage since it also has high defense, and her EX should be able to hit multiple flame fragments at once. Though to be honest, there are other better options to choose from. Aside from that, she isn't really used much anywhere else, and she is a pretty niche unit. Unrelated, but for those of you who don't know, Bunny Karin was actually the meta in an indoor PvP season a long time ago, where she could annihilate the enemy team. Overall, Bunny Karin is a pretty strong Mystic AoE DPS, whose defense penetration is useful in certain content, and she has quite good damage as well. Unfortunately, she comes with several drawbacks, aka her high cost EX skill, and the fact that she requires a lot of investment to be fully effective, especially in harder content. In my opinion, you will need her to be minimum UE40, as the extra attack she gains at that level, plus the SS Indoor Terrain Mood upgrade at UE50 significantly improves her damage, increasing her viability in your Insane or Torment teams. Regardless, you may pull for her if you don't already have her, as she is a limited character. But if you're only getting her as part of adding to your limited collection, 3-star Bunny Karin is more than enough. You may also pull for her if she is your waifu, and you want to admire her spicy L2D. On the other hand, like Bunny Neru, I wouldn't blame you for skipping her banner if you already have her or you don't care about limited units, since she isn't really used anywhere else other than Pararodzilla, as she is a pretty niche unit. Not only that, I personally feel that the upcoming limited units, aka the 3rd anniversary students, are of a greater importance than her as they are more useful. So, I would recommend skipping Bunny Karin and saving for them instead. It's time for the 3rd Bunny CNC student, nicknamed the Master Cleaner due to her love of using explosives to clear out enemies, kind of like another crazed explosive maniac who also wears glasses. It's called Sign 03, Bunny Akane. Her bunny outfit might not be that risky, but still, god damn! those glasses, that overcoat, those Hakuna Matatas hanging out, this rabbit can certainly nibble on my carrot, if you know what I'm saying. She is a permanent special mystic dealer who has B combat power in urban terrains, D in field, and S indoors. Like Bunny Karin, she also has the standard DPS equipment set equipped. Time for her skills. Her 3-cost EX skill places a mine which lasts for 90 seconds, and it explodes immediately when the enemy is within range, dealing damage. Every 30 seconds, her basic skill procs, dealing damage to enemies again in a round-shaped area. Her enhanced skill increases her attack, and her sub-skill boosts the attack of Mystic students. Her enhanced skill plus at UE40 improves her attack even more, and at UE50, her indoor combat power converts from S to SS. There honestly isn't much to talk about Bunny Akane. She has a pretty good and cheap EX skill, which sort of acts like Mutsuki's basic skill, except you can manually control it and it's only 1 mine instead of 3. It also deals good damage at max level, and it lasts for quite a while at 90 seconds. But the best part is that you're able to place multiple mines at once. As you can see in this footage, I managed to place 6 mines all at once throughout the battlefield, which is kinda funny and insane. However, Bunny Akane's main appeal is actually her sub-skill, as attack buffs for a specific attack type is pretty rare. Her Mystic student only attack buff is more potent than a normal team-wide attack buff since it is very specialized, and it makes her a suitable support for Mystic teams. Furthermore, her enhanced skill and enhanced skill plus are really nice as well, since they increase her damage output by improving the DPS of her basic skill and her mine. As such, Bunny Akane is very much usable in a lot of blue content, such as blue joint firing drills or blue armored raids, where a lot of players would bring her into one of the insane/torment teams to passively buff their Mystic students' attack. You can also easily cycle through her EX since it is only 3 costs, and you will still benefit from it since it can deal pretty good blue damage to the enemy anyways. But apart from blue content, she doesn't have a lot of use elsewhere since her attack buff won't affect non-Mystic students, and she can only really be brought into other types of content as a damage dealer. Overall, while Bunny Akane's EX skill is fairly strong as it can deal good damage, her most important feature is her sub-skill, as it is unique and it is the main reason she is a solid choice for your blue teams. However, in my opinion, universal team attack buffs are much better because they are more flexible as they affect the whole team, not just students of a certain type. Sure, Bunny Akane's has higher values, but I honestly prefer to sacrifice that for a team-wide attack buff that affects everyone, even though the buff might be slightly weaker since it is compensated by the fact that all your students are receiving the buff. I hope that makes sense. Thus, I would personally advise you to skip Bunny Akane as she is currently very much unimportant, especially due to a lot of vital units being released in the next few weeks. And you can use other students who have team-wide attack buffs on their sub-skill instead to replace her. However, if you're intrigued by her special sub-skill, then you may pull for her. But in my opinion, you don't have to go for UE40, cause while the extra attack is always welcome, you don't need it since she is honestly only really used for her sub-skill anyway, with her damage dealing capabilities being a bonus. Unless of course, you're going for a DPS focused Bunny Akane, which is kinda funny considering that her in-game role is a dealer. You can also pull for her if she is your waifu, but I'll be honest, I don't see a lot of you Akane fans out there, so let me know if you are one. And that's all for this week's review. All in all, you could pull for Bunny Neru and Bunny Karin if you don't have them, cause they are limited units. But if you already have or you don't care about them, then you may skip and save for the other upcoming students. As for Bunny Akane, you can also just skip her as well since she isn't very important. As for Bunny Asuna, well, while she may be a decent AoE defense debuffer who does see some use in raids like Perorodzilla and Kurokage, since these two bosses have high defense, you may also skip her banner, cause for one, there are other AoE defense debuffers whom you can use to replace her, since they have higher defense threat values. And 2. Bunny Asuna will soon be farmable in Global, as her Alefs will be added to the Grand Assault store sometime in the future. So, if you want her, you can just start saving your advanced GA tokens right now, the blue ones, not the silver, and don't waste your Paroxenes. Unless of course, you need her right now cause she's your waifu, in which case, go ahead and pull. Your Paroxenes, your rules. Anyways, I will probably still put a slightly more detailed explanation about Bunny Asuna in the comments, for those of you who wanna know. Again, apologies for not putting her in the video, but rest assured, I will be more prepared for the New Year PS68 units, as I will try to fit them all into one video, or at the very least, split them into 2 videos. But that's all from me. Let me know who you're pulling for if you are, and I'll see y'all in the next one.